About green building design. Okay, we are going to start. All right, so first of all, the first thing that you have to think of when you are doing green building design for a project is having in mind that you have to take advantage of the natural resources that you have. And what are those natural resources? It's wind and daylight. You have to check the orientation of your project, of your building, and check how the wind currents are usually run from north towards south, and you have to be conscious of this so you can take the most advantage of the design in your project, in your building. And that's natural ventilation, the orientation of your building, and daylight. Okay, just check that on your designs. I think you can take a lot of advantage when you keep in mind that we do have and we can take advantage of natural resources. The other thing that's very, very, very important when you are deciding your project site, just make sure it's a dense area, that there's residential areas, there is basic services, there is transportation for end users. Those are basic things that you have to keep in mind when you are deciding where your project is going to be built and where it's going to be located. This way, it makes a big difference for end users. It makes a big difference for the environment, and we are keeping our natural habitats protected by taking this in mind. We, as a society, as human beings, have been constructing in a non-conscious way, and now we have this climate change, which we actually did it ourselves. We did it by constructing in a non-conscious way. And one of those effects is the heat island effect. And how can we reduce that? By putting this in our designs, is checking our roofing materials. We need to check the SRI index so that we can lower that effect, that heat effect that causes this climate change. I mean, this warming and everything. And in fact, we can just paint our roofs white. The perfect color for our roofs is white. The other thing that we can use is renewable energy. In this case, we can use solar panels so that we can keep this heat effect lower in our community, in our cities, and making sure that you're using concrete. If you can use white concrete, that's like the excellent material that you can use to reduce this type of heating. And the other thing, well, it could be also gray concrete. It could be either white or gray. Those are the most effective for heat island reduction. And if you see me that I'm kind of looking down, it's because I have all my notes right here, and I just don't want to leave anything out. So that's why I keep looking down. I just want to make sure that you guys have all the information that I want to give you today. Energy. Okay, let's go with energy. And energy, there is a lot of aspects that you have to take care of in your designs. I know that some of you are architects and you usually just, draw, your buildings, interiors, and you're just doing all the what is it? I'm sorry. The envelope and everything. And usually you don't see like the MEPs, or you see that afterwards when you are constructing or when you are doing clashes to just check that nothing's, crashing into each other, right? And energy is very important in sustainable buildings because one of the things, or the major things, that sustainable building do is reduce energy consumption. And how do we do that? Well, at least in my case, what I always refer to is ASHRAE 90.1, 2010 or latest. And the major things there is taking control of lighting, putting sensors, and that's vacancy sensors and daylight sensors. And you can either do that, or you can put a switchboard that is programmed for that lighting fixtures and all of the lighting systems and plugs, that these have different type of hours. If, for example, there is a building that is an office building, you can use this switchboard to program your lighting fixtures and everything that's electric in your building from 8 a.m. to 7 a.m. or the hours that are peak hours for the users. So this is one of the reasons that green building design takes care of this type of usage. It's energy usage and water usage as well. So it takes care of everything in between. It's not only the envelope, it's not only interiors, it's not only materials, it's everything all together. And it's very important just to keep that in mind, that it's not only one thing, that green building, it's one thing that involves everything in a building, everything in your interiors. So the other thing is making sure that your project has in consideration for LED lighting fixtures. And this is main thing, just to reduce consumption. And if it's inside of your scope of work, having renewable energy, I mean, you know what that means. It's the best thing that you can do. Just put renewable energy from having this renewable energy for 50% and 100% or more of the energy of the annual energy consumption. Let's see. For water usage, we don't focus only on the interior. We focus in the interior and exterior. And the way that we do this is making sure that if we're using irrigation, this irrigation is a dropping irrigation, and we don't have like those sprinklers that consume a lot of water. And the perfect scenario is having endemic garden, original plants that don't have much consumption, and that they will grow naturally in the area. In the inside, what I usually do in my projects, I always keep my water accessories lower than 1.0 gallons per minute or gallons per flush. I usually tell my subs, for example, for water closets, I like to use this water closet that it's 0.8 gallons per flush. I know that sounds like very, very low, but the water closet, it's totally fine. I mean, it works totally fine. I haven't gotten any comments from the clients or anything from the usage or anything. I mean, if you can go the least that you can go, that's awesome. I mean, your consumption will, go down. I always try to keep the water consumptions in my projects below 50%, based on conventional projects. And that means that you'll be saving 50% of water consumption. So I always keep that very low. I always keep it from 1.0 and lower, always. For faucets, I like to use 0.5 gallons per minute. And lately I've been asking my subs to use 0.25 gallons per minute. And trust me, they're working well. They're doing good. No comments from the clients for pressure or anything, nothing. And we're saving a lot of water. So that's that. And now I'm going to interior quality. And what do I mean with this? It's mostly indoor environmental quality. And the first thing that we have to check is contamination inside of your buildings for tenants, for everyone. Okay, the end user, it's very important in green building. You always have to keep that in mind, that the persons that are going to be using the building may have allergies or symptoms with any type of contaminants, and you have to take care of that and make sure that you take care of that since the beginning of the project. And one of the things that I always tell my mechanical subs is that if we need to put or to install mechanical systems, they have to have an outdoor air intake, always fresh air, always. Even if we do have a very good system, they always need to have an air intake in their systems, and they have to comply with ASHRAE 62.1 2010 or latest, and check the CFMs, the air that is coming inside of the system. The flow has to be exactly what the ASHRAE tells you. I always use this standard to make sure that ventilation and natural air is coming as it has to be. And the flow, just to check your flow, your airflow, you need to use it's a flow regulator that measures how much flow or outside flow it's coming inside the system. And this has an alarm. Once this detects that there is not enough air, there will be a message, a text message, an email, or something that will send the user to tell him that there is not enough air. So this is very important, and I know it's very technological and it might be a lot of money, but afterwards, after you invest in this, I mean, you're gonna have less people getting sick, less people being uncomfortable. So just, put it in a weight. What's more important for your project? What's more important for end users? Material selection is very important as well, because we always take care of VOCs. We take care that the materials that are inside of the building have low VOCs. And we always check that these materials are certified by third parties. I usually work with materials that are Green Guard certified, and well, the Green Guard Gold certified. And I usually work with panel ray. That's what I use for our dividers inside, for our wall dividers. And well, I just keep on looking for every single thing. Sherwin-Williams for our paints. I use Dunn Edwards for our paints and primers. And it's just, keep that low. Keep the total VOCs low. And you have to look for these third-party certificates that have that TVOC and less than 0.5. So keep that in mind. And if you have your notes, take notes, okay? Because this information, I will be leaving it in my Instagram, so you can go back and check any information that you need and that's helpful for you. And if you have any questions, and if you have any comments that you want to do, or anything that you want to learn about green building, just let me know. Just DM me, share your comments, and we're gonna do this, okay? We're gonna do this together. And I'm here to tell you about my experience and how I work with these green buildings. Another thing that you have to keep in mind for materials in interiors, it's having no urea formaldehyde. None. You can't have that inside. It's very toxic. So we usually work with certified wood in our insides, and we make sure that nothing has urea formaldehyde. Okay? Let me check. Okay, just make sure your HVAC system has filters, and these filters need to be at least MERV 8. And for offices, MERV 13. Okay, just make sure you're having these filters. MERV 8, I used MERV 8 for warehouses and industrial buildings that they're just, manufacturing. And they usually use louvers and extraction. And that's what I use for that. But for offices, I use MERV 13. That's what I use. That's the minimum that I use for interiors. And let's see, what else do I have here? Lighting. In your lighting, you need to have dimmers in your lighting. It's part of having comfort for your end users. It's part of searching for that comfort, searching for that wellness in your end users. So dimmers, use dimmers for your offices, for your interiors, use dimmers. I don't use dimmers for warehouses, especially when they're core and shell. I don't use dimmers. I just have regular lighting. And these features are always with sensors, daylight sensors and vacancy sensors. And I use vacancy sensors as well in the exterior